I just got back from one of the worst vacations of my life, and I want to talk a little bit to you about train travel. Now, I've been on airplanes many times. Last year I went to Paris, and it was a wonderful experience, except for the food was horrible. Instead of croissants, I'm traveling Air France, I got a hardtack roll. This is Air France. We're traveling to Paris. These are premium economy seats. Like, the seats cost us 7 grand, okay? And what did we get for breakfast? Hardtack rolls. But anyway, there was no turbulence. There was no delays. The flight was on time. And everything I read now on the internet is, you know, these talks about terrible turbulence on planes where people have to be hospitalized. Talks about how crazy people are attacking people on planes and like all the delays and cancellations. And I just thought it would be wonderful to avoid all the lines, the hassles, and just travel by train. I don't have, and I hate flying anyway. I learned. I did take Amtrak overnight to Florida when I was in my 20s and had a positive experience, but this was a horrific experience. Actually, I took two overnight trains, one from Boston, the Lakeshore Limited that went to Chicago, and one from Chicago, the California Zephyr that took me to Denver, Colorado. Now, the California Zephyr travels all the way to California, hence the name California Zephyr. But I only took it as far as um, Denver because I wanted to see Rocky Mountains, the beautiful mountains. Yeah, so. Oh my God, I learned a lot. I am never ever going to go by train ever again. First of all, trains have just as bad delays as planes. Our train was delayed by 10 hours, our second train. So we were supposed to get that train at 6:30, okay? And we had several hours to see Chicago beforehand. The train didn't come, mind you people, 6:30 p.m. That train was 10 hours late. It didn't come until after 5 o'clock the next day. 5 o'clock, which meant we couldn't be like up all night waiting in a train terminal. We had to pay over $300 out of our own pockets for to be put up in a hotel, because if the train isn't coming till the next day early in the morning, what are we going to do all night? We don't have any overnight accommodations. We were supposed to be in a sleeper train. The sleeper train is like $1,700 to $1,800, $1,800 for a sleeper train. This is one way, okay? Now, one way to Chicago, $1,700. Another one way to Denver from Chicago, another $1,700. And then back from Denver to Chicago, 1,700. So multiply 1,700 times 4, and that's how much we paid. Now all the meals are included in that, right? But since we weren't on the train till the next day, we didn't have any meals included. So not only did we have to pay over $300 for a hotel room, because we weren't going to stay up all night sitting in a train station waiting for the 5 a.m. train. That's ludicrous. I need my sleep. I need to shower. You know what I mean? I just can't sit up all night. We had to pay for meals, right? I had to pay for my dinner. I had to pay for, my breakfast. I mean, it was crazy. And then, never ever go on the Lakeshore Limited. The toilets didn't work. I mean, I did a video about the toilets. The toilets were not working. You could not flush. So if you had a number 2, guess what? That stench is going to stay in the room the whole time that you're on the train, okay? If you can't flush, you know when you go to the bathroom and you do a poop, right? You flush it. You don't keep it there. Why don't you keep it there? Well, first of all, it's grotesque, right? But second of all, because it smells. Now, I'm paying almost $2,000, right? And the toilets don't flush. So we had to stay in that small, tiny room. It's, you know, it's not a big room. This is not the Orient Express, people. This is a very small room, okay? It's like a 2x4, very tiny, I mean, it might seem like a mansion next to a tiny coach seat that you sit up all night in. I mean, in comparison, it does. But it's not a big room. It's very, very small, okay? It really isn't. And now, no flushing toilet. Ooh, and nowhere to go. There was no toilets the whole train, on the whole car, okay? It wasn't just our room. Someone kind of crazy suggested that I asked someone else to use their toilet, but it was the whole car. And can you imagine? I wouldn't let a stranger in my room, oh, can I use your toilet? I mean, in my tiny little room, someone suggested I do that. But it was the whole cars. It wasn't just my room that had no flushing toilet. Another time, there was no running water. The shower didn't work. I couldn't take a shower, okay? And I'm very fastidious. Let me tell you, I take 2 baths a day. I take one in the early morning, and then I take another in the evening. There was no running water. And this is in a room now, mind you, that costs, $1,700 something, almost $1,800, okay? You're paying that big money. No flushing toilets, no running water. When we first got there on the Lakeshore Limited, there was no AC. It was like in the mid-80s. I was dying, and we weren't the only room. Here we are paying all this money. We don't get AC. We don't get running water. We don't get flushing toilets. And the food. Now, this is not true of the California Zephyr. The food on the California Zephyr was very good. It was. It was pretty decent, in my opinion. But on the Lakeshore Limited, the food was like rubber. The eggs weren't even eggs. I don't know what they were. It was horrid. The meals were like cardboard, and they came in these little things that looked like, something you get in the dollar store. I mean, the food in the dollar store, that frozen food you buy in the dollar store for $1, that would taste better than what we paid for. It was horrendous. Me and my husband were fighting like cats and dogs. We were bickering, arguing. The whole trip was miserable. We were delayed a day, so we didn't get back till a day late because of the train. I don't feel like I went on any vacation. I feel traumatized. I really feel traumatized. I mean, I can't explain this. This has a psychological negative effect on me, this trip. I mean, I'm walking. The train was so late. We didn't make the connecting train. So they had to wake us up at 1 in the morning to get off, walk through an empty, dark train station. Oh, and then they did put us up coming back. On the way back? On the way, yeah. In a hotel. But I got to the hotel around 3 o'clock in the morning. No sleep. I'll never ever do train travel again. Never. And so this is just, learn a word from the wise, you know how they say? Learn from my experience, Learn from my experience that there are delays, especially on western trains going west, because of they're doing repairs on the rails, and also the heat melts the tracks or something that the heat, because of the extreme temperatures, you know, because of the extreme temperatures, the trains could not run at regular speed, so they had to go extremely slow. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know the aesthetics of like what the heat on the track does or why a train can't run at high speed, and like these are temperatures exceeding 100 degrees. This is out like in Arizona or something. California having these like real horrible heat waves out there. So they had to go much slower too, and because of the repairs on the track too. Um, so it wasn't a relaxing vacation. The next vacation I really want to plan is a cruise. I've been on 3 cruises now. One to the Bahamas, one to Bermuda, and one to Tulum, Mexico. Yeah, Cozumel, and we also went to Tulum, Mexico, and Key West. And I'll talk about cruises another time, but I'm never going to be traveling by train anymore. No, it's just, it was a horrible, horrible experience. You're paying that big money. You should be getting, you know, you should be getting something for your money. Someone threatened a lawsuit that it wasn't healthy. I mean, it really isn't hygienic. Think about it. When your toilets don't flush, that's not hygienic. It's not hygienic not to have running water. You can't bathe. You can't flush your toilets. This is paying almost $2,000, people, for a room. This isn't like you going to a seedy like motel that's like maybe $25-$30 a night, and you can't expect much for that. This is like paying almost $2,000 and you're getting this. So, and the backpacks were a very bad idea too. Very, very bad idea. I packed very light. But there's no hair dryer on the train, so I bought one of those tiny, small travel hair dryers. But like, and I only packed shorts. I only packed like one pair of sandals. But in the backpack, even though I packed very light, everything adds up. So when it's on your back, it really weighs you down, and you really can't. I mean, if you're me, you really can't walk. But it's like a handicap. It's like having a 3-year-old toddler on top of your back. Even though I packed very light, I really did. I did that video and I told you I only packed very light, the bare essentials, you know, just underwears, bras, shorts, you know, one pair of sneakers, one pair of sandals. I mean, I packed light. Even little travel, you know, hair dryer that was like this little, not one like those big ones. And I didn't have to pack like sweaters or slacks or anything because it's summer. But even so, I was misled. That backpack on my back felt very, very heavy, and it was very, very cumbersome and very hard to get around. And in the Chicago station, they'll let you leave your backpack. You can check it in and then walk around Chicago. But in Denver, Colorado, you got to carry that sucker. And we arrived early in the morning, and then the shuttle wasn't ready till like 1 o'clock. So like from 7 o'clock to 1 o'clock, we were stuck with our heavy backpacks. I didn't know they were so cumbersome. And if I wanted to like walk around Denver, I had to carry my whole wares on my back. So I would never recommend doing backpacking. That was a mistake too, but that was my mistake, not their mistake. And so there's a few things that you should know. Never travel Lakeshore Limited, number 1. The whole train line is, our attendant, he said, this is how he greeted us. Oh, I guess you're stuck with me. We wrote and complained, and guess what Amtrak is doing? They're giving us a $400 voucher for another train ride. $400 voucher. We're not going to ever go on another train again, so we might as well rip that up and say we got nothing. $400. Our hotel room alone was over $300, okay? That's not including the meals that we had to pay because the train was so late we needed a place to sleep. That's what they're willing to give us. And no, I'm not going to get a lawyer because I can't afford one right now and fight this. But, yeah. a mess. So Sandy Wiley letting you know, never ever travel by train unless know what to expect. Learn from my experience.